This episode is brought to you by Strength Portal. You need a single software platform that enables your trainers to deliver consistent, high-quality workouts, track client progress, and scale your business. The problem is you're still using pen and paper or basic spreadsheets to run your business, which leads to poor client experiences, inaccurate tracking, and prevents you from growing your business, making you feel frustrated. Strength Portal understand your challenge and have worked closely with the HIIT industry to create a software platform to manage and scale your niche business. You can integrate with MindBody, manage a standardized exercise and workout library for your team, track workouts effectively, and produce client reports at the click of a button. Strength Portal is used by multiple businesses in the high-intensity strength training community, namely Discover Strength, Smart Strength Austin, Medix Precision Fitness, and more. Starting with Strength Portal is super simple. Number 1, sign up for the best package for your business. Number 2, let Strength Portal take the load off and help onboard your business onto the platform. And number 3, start delivering consistent workout experiences and scale your business to the next level. To help support the podcast, please go to strengthportal.com/high intensity business and sign up now so you can stop feeling frustrated about your business and start to scale your business to its true potential. Go to strengthportal.com/high intensity business. Lawrence Neal here, and welcome back to High Intensity Business, the podcast where we provide you with the tools, the tactics, and the strategies to help you grow your personal training business. To get free resources to help you grow your business, including sales presentations, PDFs on how to get clients and attract great trainers, financial forecasting and cash flow templates, and many more transcripts and resources, head on over to highintensitybusiness.com/free. So this is episode 391, and the title of today's episode is How to Make Money in Fitness with a High-Intensity Training Studio. Now, I don't normally do scammy sounding titles. I hate talking about money in headlines. I just don't like the scammy feel with that. And obviously I see a lot of that in my industry, so I try and steer away. However, having done a bit of research and looking at my traffic to the website, you might find this interesting. If I were to do a Pareto distribution 80-20 analysis, I get all my traffic to the website, people discovering the podcast, most of it through search engines. And so with that, I had a look at what search terms people are using, and how to make money in fitness happens to be right up there. So here we go, and there we are. So this podcast really assumes that you're a startup. You're someone who is passionate about exercise and you're thinking about starting a fitness business. Maybe you've come across high intensity training, or maybe you saw the title of this podcast and thought, I'll give that a listen. And what I'm going to do is obviously try and help you to understand the fitness business that myself and my audience and a lot of my clients are involved in, and why I think that's probably the superior choice for a lot of new fitness entrepreneurs. I also think this is going to be very helpful to existing fitness business owners who are perhaps looking to pivot their model, and also helpful to my colleagues and the existing high intensity training industry, and helping them double down on what they already do so well. So what I'm going to do in this podcast is really share with you the lessons I've learned from recording hundreds of podcasts with fitness business experts, and the evidence available to support why you should seriously consider a HIIT fitness business or double down if you already have one. So by HIIT fitness, I mean high intensity training, and we'll get into what that means in a moment. But the structure of this podcast will go as follows. I will talk about, what is HIIT, which is highly ambiguous, why this business, this sort of fitness concept is very attractive, and how you go about that. What are the first steps as a startup do you take in order to start to build that business? We'll get into a bit of devil's advocate. I try and guess what objections you might have, and we can explore some of those. And then I'll just repeat some action steps at the end. And then obviously I invite you to communicate with me, to provide any feedback or update me on your own journey. And I'll give you details to how you can do that at the end of this. So let's start off talking about some definitions. What is a high intensity training business? Well, high intensity training is so ambiguous. It means so many different things to so many people. If you say HIIT, they don't know if you're talking about HIT or HIIT, high intensity interval training. And what makes me laugh about this is I'll talk to a new prospect about high intensity training, and I will even tell them that it's ambiguous. And even after I've told them that, they still think they know what it is. They still have their version of what HIIT is, and assume it's the same, but it rarely is. So high intensity training has become cliche, and it's not very useful. And I rarely say it to prospects. I rarely use it in any sort of marketing or business communication for my personal training studio. But it's important to use in this context, because it really is the root of high intensity training in the way I'm going to talk about in a moment. It really is the inspiration for what we're doing. And it technically is the correct label for this type of business and this fitness approach that we use. So the high intensity training that I am referring to is what I would argue is the original high intensity training. To my knowledge, it wasn't being used before Arthur Jones, which would have been around the sort of 60s and 70s, when he started popularizing high intensity training in the way that we do it. At least I don't think anyone was using it before then. So in a nutshell, the high intensity training that Arthur started and has evolved a bit since, if I were to really break it down to its simplest kind of approach, it's a low volume. So let's say low volume is, again, kind of a bit arbitrary, because low volume means different things to different people, but it could be, say, sub 20 exercises in a workout. Some of our colleagues might do sub 15 or sub 10 or even sub 5 exercises per workout. But it's still relatively lower volume versus other fitness concepts out there. It's also relatively low frequency, so typically once or twice a week training frequency. But the reason it is low frequency is because it is high intensity. So our colleagues are typically training people to muscular failure, so the point where they can simply perform no more repetitions with a given weight. And with that type of intensity requires typically a reduction in volume and frequency in order to adapt to the workout and produce good results. And so the benefits of this type of approach are, I suppose, relatively obvious. You're spending less time training and producing the same, if not better, results with less wear and tear. And the science is really supporting this now, and we'll get into that more in a moment. So again, this was a fitness concept really popularized by the likes of Arthur Jones, and a few other names I mentioned have sort of carried the baton since. So you've had a famous bodybuilder in the way of Mike Mensa, who was well known for using high intensity training principles to produce an incredible physique, as well as some favorable genetics. And then obviously you've got the even more famous Dorian Yates, who also used high intensity training, but probably didn't use the kind of minimalist volumes and frequency in his training. Certainly not. I know he was using a lot more volume. In fact, I had him on the podcast as well talking about that. And then you had the likes of, Ellington Darden, who worked closely with Arthur, who has, written tons of books and definitely helped lots of people to learn more about high intensity training and its efficacy. And then you've had Ken Hutchins, who's famous in our space for writing the Super So Technical Manual and some other texts on his version of high intensity training, and how he's taken those principles and moved them into a more of a super slow concept. And then more recently, you've had Dr. Doug McGuff and John Little produce Body by Science, which is probably the most popular book in our space, and definitely the book I would recommend to you if you're new to high intensity training and you want to understand the biology and some of the science in a very easy to understand format. That really underpins why this is a superior fitness concept to a lot of other fitness methods out there. So if that's the approach, and hopefully that makes sense in terms of what is high intensity training as it relates to the fitness method. So I guess just to elaborate a bit more, high intensity strength training is what most of us call it. High intensity meaning that you're training to muscular failure with lower volumes and relatively low frequency once or twice per week. Sessions usually last about 30 minutes on average. So if we now talk about that in a business context, so a typical high intensity training business is focused on one-on-one and small group training. So small group might be 3 to 5 clients per trainer. And all of these appointments are appointment only. So typically most of our colleagues, aren't doing allowing clients to just walk in and train self-supervised. They're normally being supervised by a personal trainer or an expert coach. One-on-one sessions are typically going to be 30 minutes on average, and small groups could be up to an hour. This is a business model where premium pricing works really well because the target market who really seem to appreciate and enjoy purchasing these types of service are the high income busy professionals who really value their time. So it enables for a higher price point. Typically, these are small boutique studios ranging from 500 to 2,000 plus square footage, and they will use an array of different equipment. But typically, the most popular equipment models are Med-X and Nautilus exercise machines, which have really great resistant curves, low friction, shorter weight travel, which means less momentum and more safety. So generally, these machines are of higher quality, they're safer to use, and produce results more effectively for clients. They're also very easy to use as well. Again, the high-intensity training industry is very passionate about these particular brands. So that's Med-X and Nautilus. So that's the high-level overview of what a HIIT business is and what it looks like. Focused on personal training, short sessions once or twice a week, higher price points than average. So that's the overview. So why high intensity training as a business? Why focus on this business for your fitness business as opposed to other concepts out there? Well, there's a number of reasons why I believe it's a no-brainer. The first one is if you're passionate about delivering great results for people in the most efficient, effective way possible, there really is nothing else out there as appealing as high intensity training. The evidence just continues to build to support the efficacy of training with a high level of intensity with a lower volume and frequency. If you just look at Brad Schoenfeld's recent paper on muscle mass and hypertrophy, which actually got the attention of the New York Times, who produced an article called No Time to Lift, which just showed how effective, I think it's 13 minutes of high intensity resistance training can be in terms of producing the results people are looking for from exercise. And when you look into the actual research itself and the results, the benefits from higher volumes and frequencies were really, really marginal. And maybe that appeals to someone who has lots of time, or a professional bodybuilder, or someone really looking to optimize their muscle mass and their strength. But we're really talking about tiny, tiny increments. So what we're starting to see is that less is more, and you produce pretty much all the benefits that you want from exercise, including cardiovascular fitness, fat loss, cognitive health, bone mineral density, and anti-aging benefits from a very small, focused dose of high-intensity safe exercise. So needless to say, if you're passionate about interacting with people all day long and having and making a massive impact in their lives in terms of helping them achieve their fitness goals and getting the most out of their training, then look no further than high-intensity training. I just think the evidence is super clear. It continues to mount and grow to support the efficacy and the efficiency of our particular training approach. And if you're passionate about, doing really meaningful work, this is the way to go, right? Because you're going to be delivering the best results for people in the shortest amount of time. There are so many people out there who are high income busy professionals or similar who need this type of service. They don't have time to work out multiple times a week for an hour a session. They need something really efficient and effective, and nothing else out there really competes with this right now. And the cool thing about this is what you're trying to aim for is you really want to become the best part of someone's day. And when you get this right, that's how they're going to feel after the workout. They're going to be so glad they came in for a session. And it's kind of cool knowing that you are playing a really important role in someone's life and being the best part of their day. So that would be my argument from a passion perspective, in terms of wanting to pick some kind of fitness concept out there, which is going to produce best results and has the evidence to show that that is the case. So the next thing I'll mention, which I've already touched on a bit already, is how strongly this appeals to a high-income demographic. When you think about the key differentiators of high-intensity training, it's super efficient, it's very effective, as we talked about, based on the evidence. It's very safe. One thing I forgot to mention, actually, is typically when we're training clients in high-intensity training, we're using a relatively slow speed of movement. So that might range from a 2-second positive, 4-second negative, out to a 10-10 movement speed. So 10-second positive, 10-second negative. And there's even protocols out there for a 30-second positive, 30-second isometric, and 30-second negative. So it's much slower than a lot of the other fitness approaches out there, which helps to produce better results in terms of putting more tension on the muscle and reaching muscular failure sooner, versus other fitness methods that might throw the weight around and use momentum rather than actually recruiting musculature to get from A to B in terms of the rep. The other thing as well is a slow speed of movement is going to reduce the force during the workout, which is actually going to make it safer on the joints and connective tissues as well. So that's something I forgot to mention. But our target market really appreciate that safety. They don't want to get injured in their exercise. They want to do something that's going to improve them, not increase risk of injury. And the last thing I think that really resonates, there's more than this, but this is the list I made, is how challenging this is. So a lot of these people we're working with, they're type A, they like to be pushed, they're high performers, they want to become the best version of themselves, they want to become unstoppable. And so this is a really effective way to challenge them, and they'll get far more joy out of their workout, knowing that they've been challenged, knowing that they are going for a workout that's shown to produce the best results when someone applies their best effort during each set. And also with the high income demographic, obviously it allows for a premium price point. And just carrying on from that, the cool thing, or one of the many cool things about high intensity training, is a 2x advantage. Now, a lot of our competition are charging a fee per hour. So they could be charging, say, $60 for a 1-hour personal training session. Well, our sessions are typically 30 minutes. If you're doing this properly, you really typically don't need more than 30 minutes to perform your workout, because you just simply won't have anything left in the tank. And obviously this really appeals to the busy high-income professional who doesn't have time, doesn't want to spend an hour with a personal trainer, wants to get in, produce the adaptations and get out again. And so we've got a 2x advantage. So you can charge $60, again, just as an example. Obviously that price point can vary, for just a 30-minute session. So your return on time is really quite high. And if you look at also small group pricing, if you've got 3 people and you're charging them, let's say $40 per session, let's say that's an hour, just for argument's sake, then you're looking at $120 per hour there too. So the return on time is really high. Moving on from that, the high intensity training business has also high revenue per square footage versus other fitness businesses. Obviously, this is linked to what I was just saying about return on time, and even other retail businesses. The square footage of a HIIT studio is typically quite small, as I mentioned, anywhere from sort of 500 to 2,000 square feet. And yet the revenue per square foot is almost, can be in some cases, 10x greater than other fitness concepts. And to give you some real numbers on this, there are high intensity training studios out there which are around 1,000 square feet or even less, producing $1 to $1.5 million in revenue per year. So that's approximately $1,000 per square foot if it's $1 million a year and it's 1,000 square feet, which is a very high revenue per square footage. It requires a relatively low capital investment. So you can get started with as little as $10,000 to $20,000 in terms of leasing a small space and getting some basic equipment. And getting obviously a relatively low rent. Because really all you got to think about is, I guess, getting certified, making sure that you have the knowledge and the ability to provide personal training services. So that's something we'll come on to. And then it's really just getting some basic equipment to get started. Then you got to think about utility, cost, insurance, maybe basic software for scheduling and taking payments. But that's really about it in the beginning. And obviously, you can invest a lot more if you want a different kind of start to your business. If you want to buy lots of equipment, like a whole line of Medex and Nautilus, and you want a beautiful studio in an optimal location, then obviously, if you spend around $100,000 to $200,000, then you can really start with something great. But there's a spectrum really, depending on the type of finance you have access to and what you're willing to invest in this kind of business. Boutique fitness businesses are probably the fastest growing fitness concept around today and one of the fastest growing industries. So again, another strong reason to consider a boutique fitness business as well. This episode is brought to you by Strength Portal. You need a software platform that enables you to track workouts, deliver consistent high quality client experiences, and scale your business. The problem is you're still using pen and paper or basic spreadsheets to run your business, which leads to inconsistent workout experiences and stifles your business growth, making you feel frustrated. Strength Portal have worked closely with the HIIT industry to create a software platform to manage and scale your niche business. Strength Portal is used by multiple businesses in the high-intensity strength training community, namely Discover Strength, Smart Strength Austin, Medex Precision Fitness, and more. To help support the podcast, go to strengthportal.com/high-intensity business and sign up for your ideal package now. That's strengthportal.com/high-intensity business. And now back to the episode. So the next point to come on to is why you should definitely think about building a long-term, attractive, saleable asset. And the cool thing about a high-intensity training studio is that boutique studios have been shown to be valued and actually sell for high multiples, especially if you have your clients on recurring subscription memberships and you have monthly recurring revenue and good systems. And those things will enable you to build for a very lucrative sale. So I know perhaps you're not thinking about that right now. You're just thinking about getting started. But longer term, depending on your goals, and maybe planning for retirement, you'll want to obviously be able to sell your business for as high a figure as possible. The next thing to touch on is strong cash flow. Now, question is more framed up in the context of if you were considering different types of businesses. So let's say you're thinking about becoming an entrepreneur or you're already one, and you're thinking about different business opportunities to get into, fitness or maybe some construction or something completely different. Well, if you were to compare the cash flow in this business versus, say, a construction business, which is probably the most removed, with a construction company, you might spend hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars in a project and then not actually be paid on that project for net 30, 60, 90 days following completion. So you're not getting cash until that long after the project's been completed, versus a fitness business or high intensity training business where you're charging clients at the first of the month, you're getting cash and revenue ahead of those sessions for that month. So it's got a much stronger cash flow from that perspective. Now, this isn't probably very different from a lot of other fitness concepts out there, to be fair, but it's just important to obviously highlight this as a benefit of building this kind of fitness business. So moving on, how do you actually get started? So hopefully at this point, you understand what high intensity training is. You understand what a high intensity training business is, and you understand why it's a very, very attractive business concept. So how do you actually get started? Well, again, this assumes that you're a total beginner and you're looking to start a fitness business. So the first thing I'd recommend you do, and this might be a bit of an unusual piece of advice, is actually go and buy the book Traction, Get a Grip on Your Business by Gino Wickman. Read the whole book. It won't take you long. You should have that thing read in less than a week, and do the exercises as you go through the book. This book is so important. And when I asked probably the most successful entrepreneur in high intensity training, a person by the name of Luke Carlson, who's CEO and founder of Discover Strength, who, if you've listened to my show, Luke's been on multiple times. We talk every single month. At one point, we were talking every single week, but the man is so busy, it's more like every single month now, which I am still very grateful for. And he will tell you that Traction is the most important and highly recommended book he recommends to high-intensity training entrepreneurs, and I suspect entrepreneurs in general, maybe. So anyway, this book is really going to help you to create a long-term vision and plan for your business. So a high-level business plan, which is going to help narrow your focus, help you with decisions around marketing, pricing, and business model, etc. The chapters on people and meetings might not be that useful in the beginning since you don't have a team, or you probably don't have a team, so you won't be running meetings every week to connect with that team and resolve problems. So really, you're going to be focused on the vision component in the book. So read the whole book because I think that's important. But then I would just focus on the vision component, which will help you set goals for the business and define marketing and things like that. So now that you have your business plan effectively, so next you need to create a basic financial plan, which is going to help you understand the approximate investment and time to break even and generate a profit in the business. Now, if you need financial planning and cash flow templates, please go to highintensitybusiness.com/free, where you can download those templates and get started on that financial planning right away. So those would be my first two recommendations and first two steps that you should take is read the book Traction, create a plan, a business plan using that book, and then create your financial plan after that in a basic spreadsheet. Those are the first two things I think you need to do because those things are going to really inform all the decisions and actions that you take after that point. Next thing you probably want to focus on is invest in actually getting certified and building your skills in high intensity training. So again, this assumes that you really don't have any skills. You've heard about this business concept and you're like, hey, that really makes a lot of sense as a fitness business. And I want to learn how to be able to deliver those personal training sessions. So I would go and get certified. I would look at HIITuni.com. For their personal training courses, which are really wonderfully put together and really easy to work through and really enjoyable to work through, actually. And if you want a 10% discount of any of those courses, just use my coupon code, which is HIB10. So HIB10, or just go to hituni.com/HIB. So I'll definitely go through that course. You probably get that course completed in 3 months if you do it pretty intensely. The next thing I would do is read Body by Science to really learn the science and rationale behind this fitness concept. Now, the HIIT Uni courses will give you this information and this learning, but I just think reading Body by Science will deepen your understanding of the value of the type of fitness service that you'll be providing. And I guess the next thing to do once you've completed all those steps, I know really I should probably be giving you less steps because this is quite overwhelming. But the next thing you probably want to do is find a location, right? Find somewhere to start your business. Or if you want to go virtual, right? So it's not something we've spoken about and I'll touch on more in a moment. You could look at building a virtual business completely online, providing virtual one-on-one personal training to clients, which can work very well. You could also work inside an existing facility to kind of earn your stripes and get some experience, maybe pay rent at a facility, or usually they charge a fee for you to train your own clients and run your own business within the facility. Obviously, you could also go and get employment at a high intensity training business to learn your craft there as well, because entrepreneurship is not for everyone and you can still make a very good living and have a very rewarding career working in a high intensity training studio as well. So consider that. And you could also train people at their homes. We've recorded podcasts before on how you build a mobile high-intensity training business, and I'll link that up in the show notes to this. So there's a number of different permutations that this business can take. So let's go into some devil's advocate questions here, some things that I just came up with that I thought might be on your mind and which we'll address. So obviously with the way technology is moving, and things like COVID causing all these lockdowns, online fitness has really, really taken off. Now, I've got some experience with this. I've built online fitness. I've built an online fitness business before, providing people content and coaching through a private website. So I have some experience with this. Now, online fitness programs are very competitive, right, and quite hard to sell. So that's the first barrier. But they can be very profitable because if you've got, let's say, a private website which has just got content and courses, then that's highly leveraged, right? You're once you've created it, you've done it once, and then you can infinitely scale it and build a client base to access that content. So that can be very profitable and very leveraged, meaning can be very high return on time, and it could almost become an autonomous machine very quickly where you're not really that involved. So it gives you a lot of freedom. And it could take a number of forms, right? An online fitness business, it could be coaching calls, email support, forums, online courses. But with a lot of this, there is a technical barrier, right? If you're building an online platform, you need to understand some technical aspects, or at least work with someone who does, or invest in a platform where less technical skills are required. But needless to say, this type of fitness business can be challenging to get off the ground. If only I could do this in one take, that would be good. Maybe in the future. So the other concern I have for an online fitness business concept, and I just want to highlight, I do think it's a great model. I just think you have to think about these things when weighing up whether you do an online offer or build a studio business. Now, high intensity training, for it to actually work for most people, they need accountability and they need supervision from another human being. Otherwise, there's really low compliance. They won't do the workouts, and thus they're going to produce poor results, right? So I think, again, online forums, online fitness services can work well for some fitness concepts out there, maybe nutrition services, maybe certain exercise programs. But when it comes to high intensity training, you really need another human to help get the most out of you and help keep you accountable. A good example of this actually is a friend of mine was providing an online yoga service, and I would connect with him once a week on a Friday morning to do yoga. And I really enjoyed it. I found it really beneficial, a great way to start the day. And then one week he was on vacation in France, and he said, Lawrence, it's fine. I've sent you I've created a YouTube video, and I'll send you access to it so you can do the yoga workout while I'm away. I didn't do it. And the reason I didn't do it is because I wasn't being kept accountable by another human. It's simple as that. Now, obviously, in-person training and online services don't have to be mutually exclusive. And just to give you an example, lots of our colleagues in high intensity training are doing in-person 30-minute workouts in the studio, but they're also doing virtual training. Same way, 30 minutes one-on-one via Zoom, via any device, via any location. The cool thing is your target market, so long as you have positioned yourself appropriately and explained that the value is in the expertise of the trainer, will pay the same for virtual as they will for studio, because there's benefits to virtual in terms of greater efficiency. All they have to do is switch on their device and connect on Zoom wherever they are. They could be on a business trip, they could be on vacation, they could be at home. They don't have to travel to studio. So that could be a really nice add-on for a lot of you studio owners out there. So a lot of the time, they should be, and we've seen that they are happy to pay the same price as they will for studio for virtual training. So we've talked about, obviously I've hinted at the scale of this type of business. You could invest in a 1,000 square foot studio and you could produce a $1 to $1.5, $2 million revenue business. However, there's probably many of you watching or listening to this who are just interested in building a smaller business, having a nice lifestyle business. So just to run the numbers on virtual, if you're charging, say, $60 a session, which is probably a fairly good average price point per 30-minute session for virtual high-intensity training in the US, and you're doing 60 sessions a week, that's about 30 hours, which would be on the higher end, I think. You can make, if you times that by 4.3, so 60 sessions per week, you're looking at $15,480 per month. So it's not a bad lifestyle business there. Now, I would say that doing that many virtual sessions is definitely going to give you some Zoom fatigue. So I would either look to scale that business and hire people to help with the sessions and do less sessions yourself so you can work on other aspects of the business and maybe spend some more time in person with people. But I really just gave you that example to show you what's possible in a virtual training context. So the other, concern that might be on your mind, especially where we are today, this is November 2022, is fear of recession, right? So, there's obviously fears of recessions in the US and in Europe, and certain countries are technically in recession. So if I have my facts correct, I believe that based on negative GDP growth in the last 2 quarters, that the US is in a recession right now, and the same for some countries in Europe as well, although I probably do need to check my facts on that because I only checked that some time ago. But obviously there's some understandable fears around starting a business and retaining clients in this type of economic climate. Well, again, this is the cool thing about working with the higher income busy professional, is that their personal training spend is small for them, relatively small. So when you look at, yourself perhaps, and you think of, wow, if I was spending, $500 a month, $600 a month in personal training, I would not be able to afford that. Well, it's highly likely that your target market are not you, and that sum of money represents a much smaller percentage of their income than you think. So that's the first thing is your target market actually are less likely to be concerned about the cost of personal training and cut that expense. Moreover, if they're properly educated by you, which they should be over time in terms of understanding the massive return on investment they're getting from their training, they understand that the ROI on their health and time is significant. And so it should be one of the last things to go, one of the last things they cut. So combine the fact that actually the expense of personal training is not that meaningful to our target market, even during a recession, and the fact that it's probably one of the most valuable of the investments they make, it's very well protected against a recession, this kind of business. The last thing is, how do you go about getting clients, right? Like, how, if I'm going to start this business, how do I get clients? Obviously, that's the biggest problem, the most talked about challenge in the fitness business, in almost any business. How do you generate leads, right? How do you grow a business? So once you've read traction, that's going to give you a strong, or help you define a strong value proposition and strategic niche for your business, and allow you to, or help you to create differentiators as well, which is going to resonate with the busy professional target market. So it's going to give you an advantage straight away from other fitness businesses out there, which aren't effectively differentiated. In fact, they're all the same. So straight away, it's going to resonate. However, just like any business, if you start your own business, you have to be comfortable with selling or partner with someone who is. And you need to be selling all the time. You need to deliver great workouts and service, but you also need to be comfortable and practice asking for referrals, going to networking groups and helping people with their business and asking for referrals there. And you have to be comfortable making telephone calls to people on services like bark.com. So you're going to be selling all the time. So if that's something you don't want to do, then maybe entrepreneurship is not the best thing for you. So just bear that in mind. Starting a business does require yourself or someone in your team to be very good at sales in order to obviously convert customers to train. So just to recap then, hopefully you found this valuable. And just to recap, first thing you need to do is read traction and at least complete the vision component to create your business plan, which creates this cool document called a Vision Traction Organizer, or VTO, which is your business plan on a single A4 piece of paper, which is pretty cool. I like to keep things simple and elegant. The next is then to create your financial plan, your cash flow forecast, and you can get templates for that over at highintensitybusiness.com/free. Then get certified and buy a personal training course with HIIT Uni. You can go to hituni.com/HIB or use the discount code HIB10 for 10% off. Read Body by Science, and then just get started, right? Thank you for watching and listening to this. I really appreciate it. Sharing this teaching really helps me to learn these concepts better as well. I'd love your feedback and any questions you've got or challenges in starting or improving your business. So please email me with your thoughts about that at lawrence@highintensitybusiness.com, or you can just go to the contact page on highintensitybusiness.com as well. And if you're interested in more support to help you start and grow your high-intensity personal training business, you should check out HIIT Business Membership, where you'll get access to training content for every aspect of growing your business, private forum coaching from myself, access to a community forum of passionate high-intensity training entrepreneurs who connect on a monthly call once a month to share ideas and support you. If that sounds interesting, please go to highintensitybusiness.com/join to learn more about that. And that's it. So to find the blog post for all the resources and links, and download a checklist, a PDF checklist that you can use to actually go through this episode and go through the necessary steps to start your business, please go to highintensitybusiness.com, search for episode 391, and until next time, thank you very much for listening. This episode is brought to you by Strength Portal. You need a single software platform that enables your trainers to deliver consistent, high-quality workouts, track client progress, and scale your business. The problem is you're still using pen and paper or basic spreadsheets to run your business, which leads to poor client experiences, inaccurate tracking, and prevents you from growing your business, making you feel frustrated. Strength Portal understand your challenge and have worked closely with the HIIT industry to create a software platform to manage and scale your niche business. You can integrate with MindBody, manage a standardized exercise and workout library for your team, track workouts effectively, and produce client reports at the click of a button. Strength Portal is used by multiple businesses in the high-intensity strength training community, namely Discover Strength, Smart Strength Austin, Medx Precision Fitness, and more. Starting with Strength Portal is super simple. Number 1, sign up for the best package for your business. Number 2, let Strength Portal take the load off and help onboard your business onto the platform. And number 3, start delivering consistent workout experiences and scale your business to the next level. To help support the podcast, please go to strengthportal.com/high intensity business and sign up now so you can stop feeling frustrated about your business and start to scale your business to its true potential. Go to strengthportal.com/high intensity business.